Hello everyone, I'm ExtraCheesy87, and this is Let's Play the Somnium Files Part 32. In the previous video, we went into Boss's head, we did our Somnium. It's really bad. I've actually already recorded up to the end of it. Got to the end of it, realized that I was at a fail state after, well, we'll talk about it when we get there. Basically, the game wasted like 20 minutes of my time. And I threatened to quit many times, but we're back. We're gonna do the thing. You rotate that, it makes the thing small. I decided to just not even use the original footage because it was just me bitching. Now you just get the cynical annoyed me.
I see. Rows of
Right, then you rotate the key because obviously that makes it big and small. But the problem was, even after redoing the entire Somnium, I didn't realize that kicking the door open and tackling accomplish the same thing. It's just kicking the door open uses half the time for some reason. You would, because I assumed that, you know, once you tackle and it worked, that's the one that, you know, you're supposed to use. And that kicking the door would magically fail like almost everything else in this game. Because usually, you know, it's not uncommon for them to be like, hey, there's 3 actions that all mean the exact same thing. But if you click one of them, then you instantly lose. Or like only one of them is effective. Can't remember. No. E and E go to the same place. So we gotta go all the way around. But basically the problem was that I got to the final section with like 20 seconds left. And you can't win from there. And so I just kept picking the last like 6 options. I tried every single one of them, and it felt like none of them were working, but I couldn't tell if it was because I was at a fail state or if we can use... we probably shouldn't have used that. I tried to unclick it, and then it just clicked the option instead of unclicking the timey, but whatever, I think it's okay. The game fucking crashed. Also, that's been happening a lot. I didn't save after redoing the entire Somnium on a more optimal route. I've got to redo the Somnium for the 4th fucking time. I mean, I said this in the original footage, but like... if this wasn't a Let's Play, I would have dropped this game during this section. It's so insulting. And I mean, and I like the game a lot. That's how bad this is. Yeah, I didn't save. I think this is when we're at the end, when we're at the fail state. Oh yeah, and this is really fantastic. I'm glad you can't skip this. You have to watch it every single time the game is a failure of software. But yeah, so I'm just gonna, we'll do this. And then we'll cut back when we're actually done with the Somnium, when I play this game again in like, I don't know, a week. And unfortunately I can't do that because there's no backlog, but the problem here is we've hit a fail state where all we can do is open, and if you hit open and get the 10x,
it does not appear
you instantly lose in the next section. Now it's not clear that you're going to instantly lose, because it's not uncommon.
The first floor.
That big door. If we can see what's in there, we'll figure something out.
For the final action in the Somnium to take all your time, because basically you can interact with the ladder, interact with the cord. They have 3 actions. All of them have a base time of 999 seconds. So if you don't have a 1-second timey on you, you instantly lose. Now, it's not clear that that's what happens, because you can interact with them and you don't know if you're failing because you're clicking the wrong option, and one of these would lead to the end of the Somnium, or not. what you have to do
An eye.
is tackle the ladder. Everything else is a fail. Tackling the ladder makes no sense because if you try and climb it, which is the very first thing I did, you can't interact with the ladder. It's impermeable. But for some reason, you can tackle it. And you know, people are going to be, oh, it's a dream. It's not supposed to make sense. Fuck you. That's my opinion on that. If you're going to hide behind the it's a dream, things don't have to make sense, you can't tie a fail state to it. Especially when as strict as this. And so that was the problem, is that I picked every single action but tackle. So it took 20 minutes for me to even figure out that the reason I was failing was because we didn't have enough time. Not, because for all I knew, hitting one of these options would just instantly end the Somnium. Because this isn't the first time the final Somnium action has taken, you know, more than the max amount of time. It's just that it doesn't matter because it's the final action and the Somnium auto ends. So I didn't want to redo the entire Somnium to get more time, you know, play completely perfect coming up here. Because the only thing that I messed up when I was redoing it the second time was that I didn't know you could interact with the door at the start in order to get a 1/6, which gives you like an extra minute or so. I guess it's like almost like 2 minutes. Because you can interact with it to get the 1/6 for opening the door, and you can use it to burn off your 10x. The problem was I didn't know you can interact with the door because, you know, it's not immediately obvious because it's like off to the side and everything. But take a wild guess how many crashes there were between me restarting the Somnium and getting here. I'll give you a few seconds. Take any number between 1 and, let's say, 200. 7. Including one where I hit launch game and it instantly crashed. I should be like,
Ready?
Insanity. Fucking insanity.
Whoa!
And granted, now that I think about it,
This Somnium is awfully dangerous.
Hey, that door. Maybe.
well, I don't know. Does the door also take 99? Because if the door takes 99 seconds.
A rusted metal.
Well, okay, if it ends the Somnium, it wouldn't. Because I was about to say, because that means that even because I don't think you can have more than one second or two 1 second timies here. And if this doesn't instantly end the Somnium, then that would mean that if you picked any of those 1 out of 6s wrong, then it's an instant fail.
I'm going to open it.
But this should end the Somnium. Horrendous. So one thing I will say is, I mean, I'll finish the game, but do not be surprised if there's not daily uploads for this series, because my desire to play it is at an all-time low and there's literally no backlog to rely on.
That's...
Like, I want to finish this video and then I don't want to touch this game anymore for like...
Iba, return to the control room on the 3rd floor.
For like a week.
At once.
That's how horrible this section was. And it's like, it's not even like it's incompetence. It's antagonistic design is why it annoys me. It's like it literally comes across as like we made the game bad on purpose. Okay, nothing too surprising here. I mean, Rinju killing Shoko slightly?
The hell is going on?
Because we already pretty much thought that Iris killed Renju in this route. It does kind of like she's killed him in like the woods where Monica would have been.
Tate, what are you doing? 6 minutes are up!
Wait! Hitomi is...
Tate, you can't go any longer! Force shutdown!
No!
But there's still the lingering question of, like, are any of them themselves? Because I still think that's an element at play that might happen. Where we think it's one person, but they've actually been mind swapped. Just absolutely horrendous. Because it's like, I refuse to believe they didn't get feedback on like how annoying that was and didn't completely disregard it. And if it was like a really hard puzzle that was just kind of obtuse, that wouldn't bother me. Like, some of the stuff, say, in Zero Escape, there's some puzzles that I think are kind of dumb in the Zero Escape series, for instance. I would rather do 1,000 pin puzzles, 1,000 dart puzzles, 1,000 whatever annoying other puzzles there are in the series. Those are just the two ones that stick in my mind. Because at least those are like puzzles as opposed to literal trial and error. Where you cannot tell me that it's obvious you're supposed to tackle the ladder. It's ridiculous. And I don't buy the whole, it's a dream, it's supposed to be illogical. If you're going to say that, I don't know if I said this in this video or not. I think I said this in the original footage. So I may or may not be repeating myself. I don't know, my brain is mush after doing that shit for like way too fucking long. If you're going to hide behind the it's a dream, it doesn't have to make any sense, you can't have a fail state. Especially when as strict as this game has, where it's like you make one or two mistakes and you're done. Especially that Somnium, like you basically can make like one mistake. Maybe two.
I took a look around your head. And I discovered something.
Oh, fucking save the game, Jesus Christ. I mean, I had 10 total crashes in that song. I got 9 total, because I think we had 2 on screen. And then it literally crashed 7 times when I was trying to redo it there.
Something about the new Cyclops serial killings. Apart from Ota, there are 4 victims. Shoko Nadami, Renju Okiura, Iris Sagan, and So Sejima. Who was responsible for these murders? Shoko was stabbed by Renju with an ice pick. Renju was strangled to death by Iris. So cut open Iris's body. But who shot So?
And Roger Rabbit.
In other words, all of these murders were committed by different people. There wasn't just one killer. That's how it looks on the surface, anyway. But that's not the truth, is it? There's only one culprit. One person. And that person is...
Well, I mean, in theory, so it seems like we are going for the mind-jacking thing. The question is, like, how would that work? Because, I mean, if we assume that like, how would 89 have gotten into Renju? Or how would Renju have gotten into, you know, I mean, it can't be Renju because he killed himself, you know? It's I mean, I guess in theory, Renju could have transferred his consciousness into Iris, and then, but like... Because it's like, by saying you, what I mean is not the boss, but the person in boss's mind. Because there's only two options. Either A, it's Renju, and he swapped his body into Iris, and then Boss. Or it's the personality inside Boss was the original killer from the start. So I'm going to say Boss, but I could see it being, like, there's an argument for Renju. Because frankly, I don't know how 89 plays into this. Because, like, how could he have mind-jacked Renju, you know? I don't see any way he could have done that. Because he's in prison. And we know he's in prison. And in theory, he should have no access to the sync machine.
Yes. You. The person in front of me right now.
You're blaming the commander of Abyss for this?
No, not Boss. The person inside Boss's head.
Can you at least try to make sense?
Alright, I'll explain. You know about the abandoned chemical plant in Kawasaki? There's a prototype sync machine there. You use that device to swap around bodies one by one.
But, like, how?
In other words, the entire egg ends up being replaced.
Not that how. I mean, how'd they get to the machine?
Mind, consciousness, memory, they are traded. Switched.
I mean, one thing I will give the game is, like, I do like the story, because if the story was even slightly worse, I would drop this shit so fast. I'm that over it, in terms of, like, the gameplay Somnium stuff. Probably some of the least fun I've had playing a video game in years.
I don't know where it started, but at some point, you got into Shoko's brain. Then, you got into Renju's.
Okay, getting into Shoko I could kind of see, because we know Shoko meets with 89. But how? Still. I mean, I feel like there's no evidence that he was ever in Shoko's brain. I mean, it doesn't not make sense, but I feel like we don't have any reason to believe he was in Shoko's head.
And got rid of Shoko's body.
I mean, that makes sense. It's just... it seems like kind of we're making a leap.
After Renju was Iris. You strangled Renju using Iris. After that, into So. Who you used to kill Iris and Ota at the cold storage warehouse.
One thing that I do kind of somewhat dislike about the whole Cyclops killer thing is it's just, you know, young Date just being like a psycho killer because LOL's so crazy is not that interesting. That's probably the main criticism I guess I have, is that him just being, he's a psycho. I mean, granted, it's hard to really, I mean, I would actually say it's impossible to give a serial murderer like a good motivation, but evil Date just doesn't feel that compelling. Or, you know, Saito or whatever. Psycho, whatever his name was.
Now, you're in Boss's body. Inside her head.
I see. If you know that much, then I have nothing left to hide. Yes, I am the culprit behind the new Cyclops serial killings. I guess you can call me the new Cyclops killer.
Okay. Who are you? And we already know, but...
Saito Sejima. Congressman Sejima's son.
What?
I researched Saito thoroughly, but I cannot find any images of him on the internet. He is listed on the family register, but I cannot find any photographs.
Well, that would spoil the twist, Aiba.
Before I do, there's something I want to hear from you. How did you know about the prototype sync machine?
Peter told us, and plus we found it.
And not only that, you also seem to know what the sync machine is truly capable of. Why is that?
I mean, I guess in theory we shouldn't have that knowledge. But I mean, it doesn't... I mean, obviously there's the, you know, game explanation of like, well, the player knows it, so Date kind of gets to know it as well. But I mean, him having residual memories of it makes sense if it was used on him originally.
That's...
Regaining your memories, are you? Human memory is fractal. If you retain even a single piece of it, it's possible to recreate the whole thing. Pieces of memories are like roots that grow into every corner of the brain, gradually, slowly, taking its time. I imagine the same thing is happening in your brain right now.
A fractal is a figure with self-similarity. Allow me to explain. See this? Whichever fragment you cut, you will see a similar shape. The whole is made up of its similar parts. This is called a fractal figure. Memories in the brain are similar. That is what he is explaining. He is claiming that from a few pieces, you can rebuild the memory.
Know about the prototype for regaining my memory? Is that right? That's not it.
Parallel worlds exist.
Well, I don't know. We've already used that plot point.
That was me.
But I suppose
You
him
imitate her well.
knowing that idea from Iris does imply they're going that direction of like a shared consciousness across timelines, which, I mean, I'm not against, but, well...
From the way you talked and your body language, it was like the real Iris.
You know, we've been there, done that.
Earlier, too. Almost had me fooled. Your imitation of Boss was... perfect.
Yes, there's a reason for that. Let me define some terms first. A person's memory and sense of self. Let's call that personality. It isn't quite the right word, but it'll suffice. Now, transferring that personality into someone else's brain, let's call that parasitism. The one transferring is the parasite. The one being transferred into is the host. Are you with me so far? Moving on. Even after the personality exchange is complete, the host's memory isn't completely lost.
Well, that does explain why Falco had that knowledge then, because that was another kind of issue, was if the Falco we were talking to was Killer Date, then he shouldn't have had Falco's memories based on how it was previously explained. But I guess that's what the drugs Date takes her for, to suppress Saito's memories.
About 1% remains in the brain. So, a parasite could use that 1% to imitate the language and behavior of the host. That's how I knew about the warehouse and Sunfish Pocket, by the way. Thanks to Renju and Iris's remaining memories. I'm telling you, it was me. Why are you making me repeat myself?
That means the Somnium I entered on Sunday.
That's right. It was me.
That's actually kind of cool. How does he know about the original Cyclops killer? Date. And so I guess... what was the other thing we saw? Oh, okay, so that explains the thing with So as well. Because we saw So with one of the victims, you know, sleeping with her. That lady with the yellow jumpsuit or jacket. So it was basically that Saito was killing So's mistresses. Something else was troubling me, which I guess we technically didn't see that in this route though.
What's going on here?
I mean, I do like the only problem I have is that I feel like some of it's a little more obvious than I would have liked. But overall, I mean, I like the twist and whatnot. I think it's maybe a little too...
Fine. I still have time.
A little too well foreshadowed, like the big picture. Like, nothing's really taking me super off guard. It's mainly just like some of the minor details. You're like, oh, okay.
Time?
You'll see. So, where do you want me to start?
I just don't, I mean, the main thing is, like, how did he get out of prison and access to the sync machine and get Shoko and all that? Or, like, why would Shoko have even been, like, in contact with him in the first place? Other than just that she's, like, a shady piece of shit? Just past midnight on Tuesday. Shoko was killed on Friday. Think of that as day 1, today is day 5. What's Saito doing those days? Decided to ask him. Okay. Well, let's start from the top. Day 1.
Like you guessed, my personality was in Shoko, Renju's ex-wife. That made calling Renju easy. I need to talk to you about something. He came over without question. I think it was around 4 p.m. I had him meet me at the chemical plant. I made Renju go to sleep, synced, switched personalities, and then stabbed Shoko's discarded body with an ice pick. I took Shoko to Bloom Park by car, using the old abandoned subway line. Must have been around 8 p.m. by the time I was finished. I tied up Shoko to one of the merry-go-round horses.
You put a car in the subway? I don't have much experience with subways.
After that, I used Renju's phone to send a Nile message to Mizuki. Then, I just waited for Mizuki to arrive.
Okay. I mean, I
Until
guess
next Saturday evening, my personality was inside Renju.
you could say, but why? But I guess because lol, so crazy.
My next target was Iris. I knew she would be suspicious if I asked her to come to Kawasaki, so I asked her to come to Sunfish Pocket first.
I mean, I get Renju because, well, we don't know the full story of how Saito was caught and everything, but we can assume Renju maybe had something to do with it. Same with, you know, could just want to kill So because he abandoned him, and also because lol's so crazy. Shoko, I mean, Shoko could have just been killed to get Renju easier, or just, you know, she was the only one that somehow was able to get 89 out of prison temporarily.
I called her a little before 5 p.m., and she arrived just after 6. I greeted her, then convinced her to come with me. That's when Ota saw us. Anyway, I put her in the car, then headed to the chemical plant. On the way, I made her take a sleeping pill. I knew she might run once she saw where we were going. It was around 7 p.m. when I got there, and I wasted no time switching bodies. After getting Iris's body, I used a rolled-up apron to strangle Renju to death. Then I put his body in an empty oil drum I'd prepared earlier. I put that in the trunk of the car, then headed to Sunfish Pocket. But then, something I didn't anticipate happened. Waiting for the signal in Akiba, someone knocked on the window of the car. It was Ota. He asked me something about being able to drive. He was surprised, to say the least. I didn't have time to waste on him, but I couldn't risk him finding the oil drum in the trunk. Plus, if word got around that Renju's car was spotted driving around Akiba, that would foil my plans. So, I came up with a lie. I told him that I didn't have a license, so he had to keep it a secret. That's what that thing referred to in Ota's Nile messages, by the way.
Yeah, we know.
And just like that, I managed to escape a bad situation and headed to Sunfish Pocket as planned. The rest went exactly as you already figured out.
Okay, day 3.
Sunday morning, I had a recording or some such thing scheduled. Oh, I am of course referring to Iris. I didn't want to draw suspicion, so I decided to attend, as planned. I went to Lemniscate and performed my job. And when I left, I ran into you, Date. To be honest, I was a little surprised. Just the previous night, I was a parasite in the body of Renju. I didn't think Ota had seen me. So, of course, I didn't expect to see you there so soon. You were on to me, but there was nothing I could do about that. If I ran, it would only increase your suspicion. So I decided to play my role. The interrogation began around 8:20 p.m., is that right?
Maybe.
Then you synced into my mind. But you didn't get what you were looking for, did you? As a result, you had no choice but to release me.
I do think that that's probably one of the better misdirections the game had, though. The Iris sync.
I didn't want to go home right away. I knew there might be police waiting for me. That would make it difficult to sneak out at night. And that would put my plan in jeopardy. So I asked you to take me to Marble. I tried to find an opportunity to run, but then another unexpected event occurred.
Then there is also, I guess, the one thing you have to think about. So, like, what's going on in the other route then? So I guess that would mean that, I don't know, because if we assume everything at the start is the same, right? Because I mean, there's a chance I'm operating under a false assumption that Falco is, you know, Saito. That has not been confirmed. It's just really the only thing that makes sense. But honestly, though, because of this alt route where 89 is clearly, you know, still alive and kicking. So if we assume that in this route, like, this is the same, right? Where Shoko is Saito, that would mean Saito is Renju for all of this. Like, logically speaking, now we don't necessarily, this doesn't have to be the exact same, but I presume it does. And I mean, like, nothing really different happens to, like, between doing Mizuki Somnium for it to be, like, the major, you know, difference maker. So yeah, I don't know. Because I mean, Saito being 89 just makes the most sense to me. But
I got a Nile message from Ota.
I guess the more I think about it, I guess that actually can't be him, right? I don't know. Because it's not like, I mean, if he's been out this entire time, it's not like he could have switched back into his body or anything. Or, I mean, it could be. I'm thinking. So if the 89 we talked to in prison is not actually 89 and he's not Saito, who could he be? Because if we assume Date, his mind is 89, which is why he still has the residual memories and everything, they just like swapped over because Date's body is Saito. Because like our base level assumption, some sync happened 6 years ago. 89/Falco was a member of Abyss. His brain got trapped in Date, and Date's killer brain, or Saito's killer brain, got trapped in 89. 89 gets sent to prison. Spends time in prison, somehow gets out. But whoever he switches to first, their consciousness remains in 89. But I don't know who that could be.
I knew I could use him. So I told him I needed his help and to meet me at Marble. He did as I instructed him to do. After that, I got into the van with Ota, but because his presence was unnecessary, I asked him to stop at a convenience store to buy me something to drink. When he was gone, I took his car and drove to my parents' house where I used to live.
Okay, so that explains the So thing.
Yes, the Sejima residence. Of course, I knew I couldn't just walk up and ring the doorbell. Hello, Father, it's been a long time. I was also in Iris's body at the time. But I thought I could use that to my advantage. So I pushed on the intercom and sure enough, my dad invited me inside. I told him this: I want you to come with me. There's something I need to show you. He was quiet for a while, but eventually agreed and got into the van with me. We arrived at the prototype sync machine around 11:50 p.m. By the time I was in the body of Sosejima, it was a new day.
Okay.
This was yesterday, early Monday morning, past midnight. In my new body, I drugged Iris, put her in the van, and drove to a new location, Okiura Fishery Cold Storage Warehouse. I arrived around 1, then prepared for the show for a couple hours. Of course, when I say show, I mean dismembering Iris.
Wasn't really dismembering. Cut her in half. You dissected her. Bisected her.
Because of the temperature in the warehouse, it took longer than I expected to prepare, but... well, you saw it in the video. Of course, I didn't anticipate Ota would show up.
I do like the idea of Aiba just be like, hey, here's Iris getting chopped in half. But by the way, Date, if you wanted to see that real quick.
What does that make it? 3 times that brat has showed up unexpectedly? That annoyed me to no end, and I took that out on him. Dressing him up in the polar bear was an impromptu plan on my part. I didn't mean to make you think he was the killer. I just wanted to throw a wrench into the investigation.
That is another question that comes into mind. Going back to the flowchart. So in the alt route where they don't both die, where, you know, Ota disables So, and like we go on the Mizuki route. So in that sense, So would have been Saito, but he still has that line about, you know, killed by your own father, which doesn't really make sense for Saito's brain to say that.
Didn't matter if you found out or not. This all happened Monday morning. I left the warehouse around 3:30 a.m. There isn't much to talk about on Monday. Before noon, I used my old man's body to call this one Boss. You might not know this, but she and my father go back about 6 years.
Yeah, because wanting to get Boss makes sense because she's involved in his original arrest.
2 shared a terrible secret. Hinting at that was enough to get the boss to come running to me immediately. I injected her with a sedative, then brought her body to the chemical plant. I synced with her, exchanged our bodies. And after blowing my father's brains out, I cut his body into pieces. I stuffed the meat into a vase I'd brought earlier, then drove back to my house.
Saito spoke with grace and no sign of remorse. I mean, this is good. Now, if they could just never make me do a Somnium again. I was trying to keep my anger from boiling over and kept asking him questions. Alright, what's up with the eye thing?
You know all about the prototype sync machine, don't you? That should explain it.
I knew. The prototype sync machine differed from the one at Abyss in a few key ways. The machine at Abyss was more sophisticated. Nano cables from the sync gear enter through the gap between the eyeball and socket. They then travel down the optic nerve canal to the brain. And, well, then nothing bad happens. But the prototype sync machine isn't so advanced. To perform a sync, you need to remove the left eye. Manually. The subject and the syncer have to remove their eye from the socket. Otherwise, the cables cannot enter the brain. Okay, so it's both of them. Which, I mean, we didn't definitively know it was both. I mean, it kind of... I didn't really assume either way, but... Even with the eye removed, severing the connection to the brain isn't necessary. Extracted eyeball still has the optic nerve and blood vessels connected. After a sync, the eye is supposed to be replaced back in the socket. Okay, that's new. It's supposed to be safe. Side effects are rare. Unless the nerve or blood vessels are damaged somehow, replacing the eyeball isn't too difficult. Because I was kind of wondering about that, because, like, then shouldn't they not have an eyeball? But they just don't bother to replace them for the other people.
Of course, I don't really care about eyes. I don't need them. All I cared about was exchanging bodies with the sync.
You did eat one of their eyes, though, or make Renju eat an eye. Wait, because is a slightly confusing. So, as Iris, he made Renju eat Shoko's eyeball. You know, because in the other, at the end of the Oda route, they tell us that they found Shoko's eyeball in Renju's stomach. It's kind of weird, but I don't know if that's just because lol crazy, or I can't think of any significance to it.
And for that, I needed to remove the left eye.
Why didn't you just put the eyes back when you were done?
I mean, why would you?
That's obvious. Once I was finished transferring into a new body, the old one was of no concern to me. Why would I bother replacing the eye? I was just going to get rid of it anyway.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Well, you could say that, you know, it makes it very clear it's a serial murder case, you know, as opposed to just random murders, but... Hey, where are the eyes?
Shoko's is in Renju. Renju's is in Iris.
Okay, so he did do that to everyone?
Iris's is in Dad. Dad's is in Boss.
Ate an eye? Cringe.
Their stomachs, I mean.
You sick bastard.
Yes, I ate them. Immediately after exchanging personalities.
You could just...
How horrible.
I mean, all things considered, it's not that bad compared to everything else. Okay, why didn't the sync victims resist after waking?
Ah, the prototype sync machine has a special feature. It administers a strong dose of sedatives to the original body, and a stimulant to the host after a sync. That kept them docile.
So that could... I mean, we actually got a route for, like, an ending for Iris, though, because, I mean, that could mean that Iris wasn't actually dead, she was just, like, sedated. And and her route, but that wasn't a cutoff. That was like an actual ending. So that's like a dead end.
To harass you. I wanted to bring out the hatred in you.
You didn't do a very good job.
That's why I called Mizuki to Bloom Park. That's why I streamed Iris's murder. Because they were important to you, weren't they?
Mizuki was. Iris, I mean, she's cool retroactively. At the time, I didn't really give a shit.
I wanted you to feel cornered, trapped. I wanted to punish you, Kaname Date.
I mean, if you'd killed Mizuki, then maybe we could talk about the hatred thing, but at the end of the day, you're a little anime lady.
Homicide is my hobby.
That's a funny sentence.
I have a tenacity for it, what can I say? Of course, it was also necessary to make sure people kept their mouths shut. If I took over someone's body, they would know about my crimes. I couldn't risk them reporting me, so I killed them. It was also a matter of revenge. Against you. It's personal. That's why I chose people close to you as targets.
I mean, we're not really that close to Shoko and Rinju, but...
Well, except for my father, of course. That was personal to me. But don't ask. It's embarrassing.
And Iris only actually meant anything to us in the route where you didn't kill her, so... Revenge against me.
This series of murders was like a journey for me. You know, traveling through bodies to finally reach the end. That's the thing about traveling. You always wind up in the same place, don't you? Where do you think that is? Your home. A trip is only complete once you return home. The same goes for me. When I return home, my travels will come to an end.
I do, also going back, since we kind of forgot about it. So Hitome's still, like, kidnapped, right? I don't know if she factors into any of this at all. Like, if she's just going to be used as, like, leverage to get Date in the sync machine, or what?
So I'll be needing it back. My body.
What?
You stole my body. You took it from me 6 years ago. That's why I want revenge.
What are you talking about?
You have no idea what it was like inside my own head. I miss it. I miss my brain, Date. No matter how many people I killed, it never worked. I never felt happy. I feel miserable.
You mean?
He was born with a brain dysfunction. Due to damage to the posterior pituitary gland, he was unable to properly secrete oxytocin.
Oh, that's right. My old body. How are you finding it, Date?
This body is yours?
That's what I've been telling you!
I know, we figured it out a long time ago, lady.
But I don't have the same oxytocin deficiency you did.
That is because I regularly supplement it.
Oh, okay, so that's what the supplements are for. Or the drugs are for. Okay, so I was a little off the mark there.
They must have increased your dosage too much.
No, but the person who had this disorder was number 89. The original Cyclops killer.
That is what I believed as well, but we must have misunderstood. Pewter did not specify who exactly was imprisoned, only that one of the original culprits responsible was currently in prison.
That's strange. That would mean Number 89 is the previous chairman, Rohan.
What?
That must be it.
Is that what it means? I mean, I guess. But that would mean that when...
Rohan is a parasite inside number 89's brain.
Why are we making this jump? Peter did not specify who exactly was in prison, only that one of the original culprits responsible was currently in prison. Okay. So... Falco was in Rohan's body when Rohan tried to shoot at Falco, but instead shot Hitomi. Fucks up Falco's brain, and a few years later he kills himself? But then who was Saito's body in then?
Pewter must have known that.
I mean, this feels like that's a big leap. I mean, it doesn't necessarily not make sense, but I don't know why we're coming at this.
No way.
Because I feel like it makes more sense that it's, you know, Saito was 89. Now, there's some problems with that, but in universe, they don't know the problems with that. I was confused. I didn't understand any of it.
Let us determine the specifics using Saito as our starting point. Whose brain was he in before Boss?
So Sejima.
And before So?
Iris. And before that, Renju.
And then Shoko.
And before that...
And before Shoko?
Okay, whose body are you in before Shoko?
I was a parasite inside Rohan's brain 6 years ago until last year.
Saito was in Rohan. Rohan killed himself a year ago by jumping off a building?
I'd lost most of my memories. I was a shell of a man.
How'd you get in Rohan?
They housed me in a special hospital, but I still had those fragments of my mind left. Just as I explained earlier. From a single piece, you can recreate the whole. I took my time, slowly regaining my memories. 1 year ago, I remembered everything. I left the hospital and immediately sought out Shoko Nadami. I got her body, and she was in Rohan's.
Okay, so she's been Shoko for a long time. Alright.
When she saw herself in the mirror, she lost her mind.
What have you been doing for a year then?
She was confused, panicking, running up the emergency staircase, and then...
That's why Rohan committed suicide.
After that, I spent a year perfecting my plan, using Shoko's body. I spied on you all this time. That's why I know everything about you.
Okay, who are you before Rohan?
In that body you are operating right now, in that skull, my personality lived there.
Wait, hold on. If what you're saying is true, what about my personality?
It was in Rohan.
I'm not Rohan!
Correct. It is just as he explained earlier. Number 89 was in Rohan's body. In other words...
That's...
I mean, so like, we were a little off in some regards, but I mean, the basic idea of Rohan, or Date being 89, we've had for a long time.
Am I real?
I just don't know where they got the whole... Because, I mean, the Rohan thing makes sense, but it just feels like they had, like, a leap there. Because, like, logically, I feel like it doesn't quite... Like, it makes sense, but the conclusion to get there doesn't quite. You know what I mean? Okay, keep talking.
Sorry, but time's up. I want my body back. It's quite simple. Sync with me and stay inside my mind for more than 6 minutes.
Pass?
And if I refuse?
I know that you won't. I know it.
Huh?
Date, look!
And presumably it's Hitomi.
This is streaming live!
Damn you!
If you give me back my body, I will give you the location.
I mean, it seems a little foolish to trust the psycho murderer.
Oh, and of course, it isn't the chemical plant in the Kawasaki district.
Iva, where's the source?
It is being routed through numerous IPs. I cannot identify the source.
Pewter, contact headquarters, now!
Got it!
Now, what will you do?
That was interesting. I mean, we learned some stuff. There were definitely a few things that caught me a little off guard. Like, 89 being Rohan, and Saito being in like, that was a... Didn't quite see that coming, but the big picture stuff we still pretty much got right. So, feel good about that. Even if, in a lot of ways, though, you don't want to get stuff right. Like, you want to, like, be surprised. And the big picture surprise wasn't really surprising, because I feel like they were a little too... Like, the twist with Date's identity was a little too heavy-handed. But, yeah, interesting. I like the game, just never make me do a Somnium again, please. Please. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, man. I have no clue. But we'll go ahead and call it here. I don't really know what time we're at, because the Somnium took so long, and I don't really know how much of that we're going to end up using. Between, like, the original footage of me just failing the last section over and over again that I think I'm not going to show any of, because it was just me bitching endlessly. Deservedly, though. But yeah, what I will say, because there's no backlog, and if we get another Somnium that's annoying, I might just, like, not play the game for a week. If there's no, like, upload for a day, just assume I got annoyed by a Somnium. But we'll see. It may not impact the upload schedule. I don't know, but my desire to play the game is up a bit more after this section with the boss. I thought that was cool and well done, but it could all go downhill again the second I get annoyed by a Somnium. So we'll see. I'm Extra Cheesy 87. Stay tuned for the next part, and bye, guys.